Tools and Means. Written and read by John Miro. Episode 4. Claire was fresh from the shower, towel over her head, when her front door creaked open. She straightened and pulled the towel away. "Hello?" she called out, straining to listen. No answer. What the hell, she wondered, and opened her mouth to call again, when the floor creaked, and Claire heard the kitchen drawer open, and then another drawer. She drew the towel around herself. Someone was in her apartment. She tiptoed to the bathroom door and froze. The hallway to the kitchen was just a few feet away and bathed in light. A shadow crossed the floor. She heard a voice whisper something deep and harsh. She bit her lip and crept into the hall, away from the kitchen and towards her bedroom and the cell phone. She froze again. She remembered checking her messages when she'd come home, anxious to hear back from Senator Newell's staff. She'd stood at the island in the kitchen, staring mindlessly at the flat screen across the combo kitchen living room, chomping carrot sticks and willing her phone's inbox to ding. And she'd left her phone there in the kitchen. She couldn't call for help. She looked over her shoulder. The shadows were still moving in the kitchen. How many were there? What did they want? What was she going to do? She glared at those shadows intruding on her home. I'm not going to wait for my fate, that's what. She padded into the bedroom, dropped the towel beside the bed, and reached beside the nightstand for her Rawlings 5150 alloy baseball bat. Next, she heard books fall to the ground in the living room. Was the bastard going through her files? Oh, get a grip, Claire. It's a home invasion. They're after money, not patient files. And she got a grip. A good two-handed grip on the bat. The Women's National League had courted Claire when she played college baseball. She'd stuck with psychology, thank you very much, but kept playing in rec leagues. And maybe she couldn't hit a smoker like the ones Alyssa Deschênes had thrown for Chicago in the last Women's Nationals finals. But she sure could do some damage on this asshole's kneecaps. She made it to the corner and watched the shadows play on the floor again. Only one invader, she decided. Walking away towards the window now. Kneeling, rifling through her books again. What did he want? Not what he's gonna get, Claire vowed, and reared the bat behind her head. She turned the corner, letting loose a shriek and running for the kneeling form in front of her bookcase. The figure jerked up and looked back in time to register shock on her face. Amy's face. Amy, who toppled on her ass, backing up against the bookcase, matching Claire's shriek, and then some. Claire put on the brakes, but she was committed to the swing now. She diverted the bat from her grad student's skull and brought it down instead on the back of her couch. A down-filled pillow exploded, showering Amy with a fistful of tiny white feathers. Claire stood there, still choking the bat in her grip and staring incredulously at her feather-covered assistant. Amy stared back with wide eyes, then looked down at the feathers on her black baby doll 9-inch nails t-shirt. "Shit," she said. "Yeah, shit," panted Claire. "Amy, what the hell are you doing here?" Amy stared at her like she couldn't understand the words coming out of her boss's mouth. "We've got a trip to plan, don't we?" From the very first night Amy had come over to cab together to a bar, she'd been letting herself in. Claire sighed, pried her hands off her bat, and let it fall onto the couch. Her body was trembling from the adrenaline. "You know, I thought I was going to get robbed, right? Or raped?" Amy looked Claire up and down. "And you were making it easy on him?" Claire furrowed her brows, wondering what the hell Amy was talking about, when she realized part of the reason she was trembling was that she was cold. Cold as in naked. She closed her eyes, suddenly aware and mortified. Amy whistled. "Looking good for an older lady, Doc." Claire blinked. "Thanks. I play ball." Amy smirked at the bat and the ravaged pillow. "I can see that." She leaned back to collect the books she dropped on the floor earlier. "Can I borrow something to read on the flight?" "Wait a minute. Older lady?" Claire glared down. "I'm not a... She shook her head and headed back to her bedroom. "Yes, fine. Just clean up the mess, Ames." 20 minutes later, with Claire dressed and a bottle of wine half drained, the two women laughed until they cried. "You totally hulked out, Amy gasped. I wish I'd grabbed a shot of you with my phone and posted it. Claire managed to gulp down her mouthful of wine before she laughed again. No pictures, thank you very much. You sure? Amy mumbled around her glass. Bod like that might go a long way to fund your project. Claire scowled. I'd be happier with the senator's money. Well, you know politicians, Amy teased. At least pack something sexy. Claire put her glass down, sobering. Amy, I'm sorry. I never once thought about how you must feel. You just lost your job. Amy shrugged. Meh, I'm sharing an apartment with 2 other girls. I'm nowhere near desperate enough to grab a bat and strip yet. She giggled as Claire's lips pursed together in annoyance. But Claire couldn't hold up any ill will, and soon both were laughing again. If Chicago comes through, though, there'll be a job for you if you want it. If I want it, Amy shot back. You've single-handedly reduced recidivism in each of your patient pools by 15% at least compared to the inmates in Gen Pop. You're brilliant, Doc. You're a rock star. Yeah, I'm in. Claire shook her head in amazement. With Amy's long dyed black locks, starved model body, and ditzy party girl temperament, it was easy to forget just how smart and dedicated she really was. Claire held out her glass. What would I do without you, Ames? Amy put more wine in both glasses before she clinked them together. Bring something skimpy so you don't have to find out. Claire started to laugh again when her smartphone chimed. Amy beat her to it and scrolled through the email. Her eyes widened. Claire waited nervously, rocking back and forth on her stool. What? She finally barked. Newell's guy says the senator's excited to meet with you, and he's reimbursing us for the hotel room and our airfare. Sweet! Claire let out a rebel yell and slapped Amy's outstretched palm. She really could do this. She could save her life's work. She stared across the table. She might even be able to bring her best friend with her. About clothes, she asked tentatively. Just how sexy were you thinking? Yeah, Doc, Amy said, and hopped off the stool. Let's go see what you've got to work with. Claire grabbed the bottle of wine and followed her friend back to the bedroom. Tom stayed the afternoon and through dinner. He got Allie ready for bed, tucked her in, and watched over her until her eyes drifted closed. He sat in the chair facing her bed, listening to her breathing deepen and watching her sleep. He liked watching her sleep. He liked watching when dreams took her, unknown emotions and expressions creeping into her face, making her seem more like the old Allie. The sky had turned blue-black outside the window when Tom heard the soft rustle of pant legs. It would be Paolo checking in on Allie before checking out himself. He liked this nurse. Paolo really seemed to care for his sister. Tom's eyes flicked to the circular analog clock on the wall by the window, the one he'd brought back from Nevada, with the Grand Canyon plastered behind the big hand and the little hand. He smiled a little, thinking back on his time in that state, on giving another nurse who escaped justice for killing 7 disabled patients a taste of her own medicine. A 50cc dose of it, in fact. Hey, Allie, Paolo said, leaving the lights off and navigating around Tom's wingback chair in the dark. Did you and Tom have a good Madre de Dios! The man jumped when he became aware of Tom's presence. I'm sorry to scare you. The nurse's nostrils flared. Tom took in his defensive posture, hands up, eyes wide, blood pressure up, no doubt. He learned a lot about Paolo as he observed the man shake his head and quickly break the biological spell. The man knew how to handle himself, and how to keep his cool. Paolo's hands came down, and the nurse began to laugh, swallowing the sound so as to keep from bothering Allie's slumber. His fists opened, mirroring Tom's gesture. Then he dropped the hands to his hips, still laughing quietly. Damn, you're quiet. No, it's fine. It's good for the blood flow. He shrugged his shoulders, and Tom watched the last of his tension fall away. And it's good to see you sticking around. You do right by your sister better than most of our residents' families do. She's my sister, Tom said, and felt something rare as he stared at her. Emotion, love. He didn't try to hide it from Paolo, just let himself revel in feeling something so real and being with Ali. "I get that," Paolo said reverently, and rounded the bed to crack the window. "She liked to breeze at night," he explained. Then he bent to her side and lifted the blankets higher, over his sister's shoulders. "Thank you," Tom murmured. "De nada," Paolo whispered. "Sweet dreams, Al," he said to his charge, and left the room. Tom stayed long enough to frighten the night nurse too. Then he stood, brushed the hair from Ali's forehead, and left. His bags were packed in the back of the rental car out front. As he crossed the parking lot, he put his hands in his pocket. One hand brushed against the big plastic key for the mid-sized car, the one he'd picked for its commonness, the better to blend in while he hunted. His other hand fingered the smooth sides of the jackknife, the one he'd bought just the day before. Just for this. Just to balance the scales. It was the exact duplicate of the one he'd seen in the pictures in Eldon's files, the one he'd soon bury in George Newell. He wondered if he'd feel anything this time. Not that it mattered, he thought with a sigh. No, not that it mattered. He drew the keys out, phoned off the alarm, and opened the door. Next stop, Miami. You have been listening to Tools and Means. Title music, Infiltrate This, by Atlas Plug, used with permission. For show notes, more information, and other fiction by me, John Miro, please visit servingworlds.com. Thank you for listening.